Hey YouTube, Shelka04 here. Hey, I want to talk to you today about the what I believe to be the ultimate in bug out vehicle. It's the Toyota Series Winnebago that came out from about 1985 or 86 until 2001. What I've got here is a 91 Toyota Warrior, but they made a couple of different models, and basically the difference is primarily what's on the inside. So I'll give you a quick around the outside, then we'll go look inside, and I'll talk to you a little more about what I think makes this the best vehicle to bug out in. The outside's pretty typical. On this side, we've got over here propane tank. This is the guts basically for the refrigerator, which runs on propane or electric. Above that, we've got the bug out map there. Those are available on eBay for about $10. And we get a lot of people asking questions about those, actually. The states, they're like, remember the old color forms from days gone by where you could peel off things and stick them on there? Well, it's the same idea. Down below here, we've got a 110 external, which is powered off the inverter inside. Coming around, we've got, now this is the stock battery compartment. It would take one deep cell battery, and I've made a modification to that system that I'll show you in a minute. Coming around to the front, now the spare battery that I just showed you is powered off of this line, which runs to that solenoid over there. It's just basically a contactor switch, and the white wire is spliced into the windshield wiper control. And what that means is when the engine is running, and we could in theory run the windshield wipers, it's also made the connection and is charging the batteries. Now, a couple of critical things. You want to make sure that you've got a fuse block in there, because we've actually blown the fuse twice now on our way. And here's a commando note for you. If by chance this battery ever died, obviously you could take one of the batteries from in back and use that to start the vehicle. Or you could run a lead from here to the post back there, because the post back there is charged with the batteries that are in back. So by running the lead there, you would close the switch and feed the power up front and be able to turn the starter. Okay, so this is a V6. It's supposedly the most mass-produced Toyota engine that they ever came out with. And we've got like 96,000 miles on it, but these things can go for tens of thousands of miles, hundreds of thousands of miles. I've heard of 300,000 or 400,000 miles. The big joke is you just keep oil in it, and the thing basically can't be killed. So coming around this side, this is where the generator should be, and we didn't get the vehicle with a generator. I don't know if I would have used it even if we had, because I didn't like the idea of the thing basically acting as a parasite on our fuel supply. So what I did was I replaced what was in there, which was just basically blocking and jacks and stuff like that necessary to level the vehicle, with these three giant deep cell batteries that the amperage here is enough to do some basic welding, but when you combine these three batteries with one on the other side, we have enough power to run the vehicle off-grid for about a week. We've gone 5 days, and you could probably go a little longer depending upon how you used the inside stuff. This is your fresh water supply. You dump water in there. There's a tank on the other side underneath the couch. The exhaust for the heater, the exhaust for the hot water heater, and this is the point where you would hook a hose up and use external water and external water pressure to basically run everything inside. Coming around back, we've got a tube that holds the hose for the gray and the black water tank, and we've got a special setup here on the license plate that has a rear view camera. We've also got a bike rack, so that if we ever broke down or ran upon an obstacle or an obstruction that we couldn't drive over or get around, we could unpack the bikes and head off on foot, so to speak. My bike, this one, we have a complete set of panniers to load on there, so we could basically travel with enough of the stuff from inside to be comfortable with wherever we had to go on the bicycles. Looking up in the front cab of the vehicle, it's pretty much a standard Toyota 1-ton pickup. However, we do have between the seats, acting as an armrest, a cooler that also heats. So if you needed to keep something warm, you've got that option, or you plug it into the cigarette lighter and it'll keep stuff cold. We primarily use that for chocolate bars, because in the winter, in the summer, they melt on you a bit. We also have a police grade computer stand, so the person sitting in the passenger seat can do the primary navigation. Above there, where the rear view mirror should be, is the mount for the rear view camera. Hanging off the visor on the passenger side is the GPS, and basically the passenger is the primary navigator. They've got a computer, GPS capability, and cellular Wi-Fi, so we can be searching the internet as we're rolling down the road. Now we go back around and go inside. Here, at looking in the inside, this is an add-on there. That is a monitor for the inverter that's mounted underneath the couch. It keeps, it basically monitors the batteries and gives us a visual idea as far as what the status of them are. This is obviously a aftermarket plug that's tapped right into the inverter. That way we can bypass some of the electronics associated with running the RV. I'll show you those in a second. We've got storage under here. This is where we keep all the tools and stuff to repair the vehicle on the road. Now, I mentioned the electronics associated with running the inside of the vehicle. If you behind that panel there is the standard stuff that the thing came with. If you go down this road and buy one of these things, you want to replace that, because it's it comes with an analog. It's called a converter, not an inverter, because it manages the 110 and the 12 volt as well. Excuse me. An analog converter will fry modern electronics, like your laptop and your little charger for your cell phone, stuff like that. So if you get a digital one, you're set. Looking back, we've got pretty much a full galley, 2 sinks. We've got enough water to run, basically to live back here happily for, as I said, a week. Stovetop oven. With up above here, we got a microwave. That's not supposed to happen. Over here we've got our food stash. This is the standard status of the system that the RV comes with. Back here we've got the bathroom. You got a toilet and a shower. Storage up overhead. The closet has storage. We've got pretty much our winter clothes tucked back in the bottom of that, with our summer clothes above it. The sink. We've got a flat screen TV. Now, looking at these lights here, one of the things I did was I replaced these bulbs with LED bulbs because the incandescent bulbs that the RV comes with is they're real energy hogs. And if you go the route, excuse me, of replacing the bulbs with LEDs, basically you can have every light on in the RV, and the amount of power that's drawn is equivalent to one of the old style bulbs. So it's a tremendous savings. On this side, we've got stereo on both sides of the RV, overhead storage. We've got seating at the kitchen table. Let me back up a little so you can see that. We've got seating for, I guess in theory, 4 people, with maybe a 5th sitting on the end here. This vehicle has seat belts here, over here, and behind me here on the couch. This couch pulls out and folds out. So I was thinking you could definitely get 5 people in here. 4 would be comfortable. At this point, it's just the 2 of us, Andrea and I, so that makes it really roomy. But ideally, if this was a one-person operation, that'd be great. We got sleeping up there, as well as the sleeping down here that I mentioned. There's a thermostat there that controls the heat and the cooling. We've got air conditioning and heating up overhead. Let's see what else. Standard smoke alarm. That's the crank to actuate the antenna outside. You turn that and the antenna pops up, and you can then rotate it to tune in the signal for the television. So there you have it. It's our version of the bug out vehicle. Now, what makes it so great? First off, based on a Toyota chassis, as I said earlier, you'd be hard put to drive this thing into the ground as long as you kept oil in it. But the reason that I focused on something like this, and don't get me wrong, this vehicle's almost 25 years old, is because of the mileage. We get, depending upon how we drive it, 16, 17, maybe 18 miles per gallon. And that's consistent. Going up hills, one day in a hilly area, you'll be getting 16, but on the flats, without any headwind or anything, you'll be getting 18 or 17 and a half in there. The downside of all that is it's got the standard Toyota fuel tank, which is, either a 12, maybe a 13-gallon tank. So it sort of limits your range. One thing you could do would be to put a second tank on underneath, or you could store, the roof is rated for you to walk on. You could store, gas containers up there. Now, I didn't put solar on the roof. I was going to, but I figured between the solar panels and the charge controller, that was going to be about another $1,000. I just didn't see the demand for it because we were driving around enough that we're charging the batteries as we go. Again, I said they made these things from about 85 or 86 until 91. And you want to stay away from a couple of years. In fact, you pretty much want to stay away from about 85 or 86, whatever it is, to about 89. The reason is because the early vehicles had the standard Toyota 1-ton axle. And what would happen would be when these things were fully loaded down with people and equipment, those axles could bend, and I guess did bend. Also, those axles only hosted one tire. We have dualies back here on a more robust axle, so they fixed that. Now let's talk about price. As I mentioned, we've got 96,000 miles on the vehicle now, and probably bought it with about 88,000 miles on it. We paid $9,000, which is about ballpark. Now you can find some real Cinderella stories out there. The mom and pops who bought the thing and took the grandchildren periodically to Disneyland, and it's sitting under a tarp out in the barn with 20 or 30,000 miles on it. Those are not uncommon, actually. You can find them. and you can find them pretty easily. The thing is that they're going to be a little more expensive. Those tend to be in the $12,000 range. Good range for a vehicle like this is between the $8,000 and $12,000. The problem you're going to have there, though, is that that thing's going to go fast. It'll go in a matter of, I don't know, a couple of days is what I saw them going in. So sorry for that edit there. I got temporarily distracted by another project. Anyway, getting back to procuring one of these things, the issue is going to be getting there in time. You almost have to be in the same, at least time zone as where the thing was being advertised. I found this one on Craigslist, and I bought it from a guy in Louisiana. He was an older retired guy. I talked to him for about an hour on the phone about everything he had done, what he knew about the history of this thing, all that. And then basically we bought a one-way ticket to Louisiana and picked it up. And I know that's sort of a gamble, so that's why we want to do a lot of pre-screening first. When I talk to other people about their RVs, if you ask them honestly, say, hey, I'm going to fly in to buy this thing, so tell me honestly, is it worth it? I had one guy say, don't do it. Don't, his mom had backed into a fire hydrant and crimped the panel on back. And he said, it's something you could get fixed, but it's an issue. And I'd recommend you find something else. And that's what we did. So I appreciated his honesty. Now let's talk about tactical upgrades you can make in the event of a shit hits the fan kind of scenario. First off, let me say that there was a year or two where they made these things in four-wheel drive. So there's that option. I was actually talked out of that by a friend of mine who said, why worry, if you're not going to be continuously off-road, why worry about that system as well? Why have that distracting from your gas mileage and a possible issue that you might have to deal with on the side of the road. So we didn't go with the four-wheel drive. Now, that being the case, as you notice, the sides of this thing, the outsides at least, are all flat. And so if we had some sort of civil unrest situation, and I needed to get from here to there and was worried about, people I might encounter, one of the options that you could do easily would be, they make 4-foot by 8-foot ballistic grade panels that are about half an inch thick. They almost look like sheetrock, except they are level 3. The level 3 stuff is half an inch. The level 1 stuff is only 1/4 of an inch. So there's a little difference in the weight and obviously in the price. But you could easily in an afternoon cover the exterior of this thing in those ballistic panels and basically turn this into a miniature armored car. What I might do in the front would be to, coming off the front part of the sleeping area there is about a 45-degree angle. I might continue that line down with the ballistic paneling so that anything that was to be shot at the vehicle would deflect off. And a fun thing that you could do to get around being able to see would be that you could mount an external webcam on the front of the vehicle and put the computer that's connected to the webcam on that computer stand up front, and you'd still be able to see. You probably couldn't drive at 60 miles an hour, but you could auger down the road in a completely bulletproof vehicle. As far as other modifications, I think that's about it. I might, like I said, increase the size of the fuel carrying capability. You could put ballistic paneling on the outside. You could convert one of these vents into a turret, or definitely into a means of getting to the roof from the inside without having to go outside. So there would be that option. But now let's talk about cloakability. Would we all like to have a Humvee or a Deuce and a half to go tooling around in a shit hits the fan situation? Sure we would. But that's not too practical or too, let's call it normal, in current society. Because let's face it, you go tooling around in your armor-coated Humvee or your Deuce and a half or something, you're probably going to attract the attention of law enforcement personnel who are at least going to give you that curious eye. In this thing, we're invisible. We're mom and pop going down the road to some campground. And in the thousands of miles that we've already covered, we haven't been stopped once. What else can I tell you? I guess that's about it. I highly recommend the Toyota Series RVs as a bug-out vehicle. Do me a favor, subscribe to my channel, and if you have questions about the vehicle that I just mentioned, let me know and I'll see what I can tell you. Shelka04 out.